Good evening, guys. Good evening. Welcome to our very, very last session of the Becoming Young Again week, or 2 weeks as it is. I can't believe it feels like yesterday. Actually, we were kicking off. Where are we? Just under 2 weeks ago. So for me, it's shot by. I'm sure you guys are sick of me waffling on about all things Kaya Kalpic, but it's been an absolute privilege to be here with you. It's been an absolute privilege to have so many people join, to have over 1,000 people in this Facebook group, to regularly have, 50, 80, 100 and 150 people live on these sessions has been an absolute privilege as well. So I can't thank you enough for all of the time and energy and commitment that you've shown. It's been, Facebook gives us all of the statistics and all of the data from these weeks, and this has blown any of the previous weeks we've ever done, out of the water in terms of comments, in terms of photos, in terms of questions, in terms of engagement, and for that, Holly and I are truly grateful. So very sincere thank you. Tonight, the final session, fundamentally important. Like I said, that we were always gonna talk about what we're talking about tonight at some point during this event. It didn't quite work out fitting it into last week's content, so we're obviously doing it now before the doors close tomorrow. So you're talking about individualizing Kaya Kalpic. Individualized medicine is always going to be the most effective form of medicine, whether it's, that's why natural medicine, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Chinese medicine, the reason they're so profoundly effective is because they're profoundly individualized. And that is, true of Kaya Kalpic. We can look at generic Kaya Kalpic, we can look at the foundation of Kaya Kalpic, and we can say, well, how do I take that foundation and how do I extrapolate it in a exponentially powerful way by individualizing it to my needs? And that's what I want to talk about this evening. We have also got to announce tomorrow, this is the last live session, but we will be briefly on tomorrow because we're going to announce the prize winners. We spoke about the start of this event. We had some amazing Fushi prizes, some herbal product bundles to give away for people who have been, really helpful and kind and supportive and active in this group. And we will announce that tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, if you win and you're not live, we'll let you know. We'll message you. Obviously this doesn't have to be the end. I know loads of you have signed up to join me in the 8-week course, the Kaya Kalpic transformation plan. I feel so inspired to have so many people continue the journey with us. So those of you who are thinking of joining, we just got just over 24 hours left to join. Doors close tomorrow evening, 10 o'clock. And unfortunately, we've had lots of messages saying, will we be running it again next year? Unfortunately, we won't. We ran it last year, we run it this year. Next year, I've got a book coming out, which is going to see my kind of spring and summer be manic. So we're not going to run it next year. We might run it the following year. We're not sure. So it's going to be a good couple of years until that course is available again. So if you are thinking of joining, or you do want to, take it further, then kind of don't miss the opportunity, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Right, so far we've looked at the whole focus of the last 2 weeks have been about age reversal, haven't they? They've been about becoming young again. How do we genetically, physiologically, at every level of the body, how can we reverse the signs, the markers, the mechanisms of aging in the body? We've looked at stem cells, we've looked at telomeres, we've looked at inflammation, we've looked at detoxification, we've looked at autophagy, we've looked at tonic foods, we've looked at lots of content. But what happens, if we then unleash, those mechanisms, those very focused, very specific mechanisms that are targeting age reversal? But what happens if we individualize that and we take those gains around age reversal, but we marry them with other practices that are individualized for us? And by that, I mean looking at everyone's got ailments, everyone's got symptoms, everyone's got problems. Okay, myself included. I broke my wrist quite badly a couple of years ago in Spain, mountain biking. It wasn't set properly because I was in the middle of nowhere. And it causes me, quite a lot of pain and discomfort if I overuse it. So I proactively tried to manage that using Kaya Kalpa. We've all got ailments, problems, symptoms. So what happens if we take these profoundly powerful, age-reversing, longevity-promoting actions of Kaya Kalpa and marry them with practices that help us evidentially manage any ailments, symptoms, problems, issues we've got psychologically or physiologically, okay, as well as using them to reduce our risk factors for disease. Okay, because then we've got the full package if we're doing that. And that's what Kaya Kalpa advocates. It says, yes, let's use Kaya Kalpic practices, proven practices that will help to reverse aging, that will make us feel more youthful, that will revitalize us, re-energize us, allow us to experience youthfulness once again. That's one side of Kaya Kalpa. But the second side is that let's not just do that, let's also proactively manage problems. Okay, symptoms, problems, ailments, issues, whilst also minimizing our risk of future illnesses, preventative medicine. And that's where something called the health risk, or it's got lots of different names, but the health risk audit becomes really important. Okay, the health risk audit. And please take this away from you, whether you join us in the 8-week course or you don't. It doesn't make any difference, okay? Please do this task, okay? It's something that I'm really kind of passionate about propagating because, we drive our car every day. And what do? We MOT it, we service it, we look after it preventatively. We need to do the same with our body, okay? So there's two things I'd like you to do to kick this session off. Not do it now, but do it tonight or tomorrow on the weekend. Is do an audit, sit down, and this needs to be mindful. It needs to be mindful, it needs to be contemplative, it needs to be quiet. Sit in the garden with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, go for a walk, whatever it is, and think about how you feel in your body and mind right now. How do you feel in your body? What are you experiencing in your body? Is there any pain? Are there any ailments? Are there any symptoms? Do you have any issues with things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar? Are you sleeping badly? Any tension, headaches, migraines, digestive problems, eye problems, skin problems, hair problems, ad infinitum? Do an audit. How is my body feeling? Okay, because you can't fix what you're not aware of. And so few of us actually tune into our body. So do an audit, because that then allows you to say, well, actually, you know what? My joints are hurting a little bit, or, I don't feel like I can recover from my exercise like I used to, or my hearing is definitely deteriorating, or my memory isn't what it used to be. Don't accept that. Having those problems isn't the issue. The issue is accepting them and not moving to remedy them. Okay, but we can't remedy what we don't know, what we don't have clarity on. So get clarity on what areas. If you could click your fingers, what issues would you try to support or resolve or remedy or fix or address in your body that's going to make your body and your mind feel better? Anxiety, stress, depression, rumination, OCD, anything, okay? Do an audit, because once you've got those things listed, you've then got the first part of a blueprint for how you remedy it. Because whatever problem you are experiencing, I guarantee you categorically, without exception, there are natural, herbal, Ayurvedic, naturopathic, homeopathic. There will be things that are proven to help that problem. Okay, and Kaya Kalpa now is broader than just, Kaya Kalpa. It includes lots of other things as well. Okay, so do that audit, work out how, if you had a magic wand, you could make your body perfect. What does that look like? Okay, the second thing you need to do, perhaps even more important in terms of the promises of Kaya Kalpa, like I said earlier in the week, I know it sounds in many ways stupid and in every way commonsensical, but to become young again and have excellent longevity, the prerequisite is that we don't die. Okay, you know, and I know I said that tongue in cheek on Tuesday, didn't I? But that's the linchpin. Okay, and we all have, and I'm going to caveat this with an exception in a minute, but we all carry in our genes a skewed risk factor for what is most likely to kill us. Okay, we all carry within us, because of our bloodline, because of our lineage, we have written into our hardware a predisposition to certain diseases that are most likely to kill us. Okay, for most people, they're one of these trilogy of killers that I spoke about last week: cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. You know, of the 1,100 people in this Facebook group, on the 2,000 people in this collectively who have signed up, you know, about 93% of us are going to die from one of those three classifications of illnesses. And the best way of understanding which ones of the, and there are other things as well, strokes, diabetes, Parkinson's, motor neurons disease, there's lots of other things as well, obviously, lung disease, respiratory disease. But the best way of understanding which of those are written in your genes is to just look above you and look to the side of you. Look at your cousins, look at your siblings, look at your parents, look at your uncles and aunts, look at your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-uncles. Look at everyone who's same next to you and above you in your lineage. And look what illnesses they suffered from. Look at what things killed them, okay? Because statistically, they're more likely to kill us, okay, you and me. Because once you know that, okay, then you can powerfully act to significantly, powerfully reduce the chances of those illnesses killing you. And the caveat that I want to make is this, and it's profound, okay? There's a beautiful maxim doing the rounds in this area of research, okay, which is you're not doomed from the womb to the tomb, okay? You're not doomed from the womb to the tomb, okay? So about 80% of our risk factors for disease are down to our choices. Okay, so if your great-grandfather died of, liver cancer, or your great-grandmother died of breast cancer, and your granny died of breast cancer, and your mum died of breast cancer, yes, there's obviously an increased risk of you dying of breast cancer, or respiratory diseases, or heart attacks, or strokes, obviously. But that doesn't take away the fact that the most advanced research from the field of epigenetics, how we can change our genes, is that 80% of all of the things that are going to kill us, including our hereditary risk factors, are down to the way we live, the things we choose to do and the things we choose not to do. Whether we sleep well, whether we don't, whether we exercise well, whether we don't, whether we eat well, whether we don't, whether we manage stress well, whether we have family support, whether we have passion and meaning and purpose, whether we're using these kinds of Kaya Kalpic practices. 80%, only between 15 and 20% of the things that are most likely to kill us are down to unavoidable genetic activity. Okay, so it's not a death sentence. Okay, but it is a risk. Okay, so like I said last week, when I complete this audit, okay, I know that I've got, some painful joints. I know that I've got inflammation in my wrist. Okay, I know that if, sometimes my sleep isn't great. So they're the kind of lower level goals that I try to address with Kaya Kalpa. But I also know that my biggest risk of mortality is cancer. Okay, there's not really any heart disease in my family on either side, not really any Alzheimer's or dementia, but a lot of cancer. So my Kaya Kalpic blends, the alchemy that I use, the foods I use, the topical treatments I use, the tonics and remedies I use, are heavily skewed towards cancer biology suppression in terms of immunity, in terms of inflammation, in terms of, cancer genetics, all of these kinds of things. Okay, so once you know that, once you have that understanding of what your lower level needs are in terms of current everyday symptoms and your bigger hereditary risk factors are, you can then act to work on that. Okay, and this is kind of unleashing unimaginably powerful individualized preventative medicine. Okay, it's that famous saying, isn't it? An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Okay, if and there's not, it's a digression, and I talk about this in a lot more detail in the 8-week course. But most diseases have a very long latency period. Okay, so the symptoms of cancer, or the symptoms of heart disease, or the symptoms of Alzheimer's or diabetes or whatever it may be, can come about overnight. But statistically, most life-threatening illnesses have a 10-year embryonic period. Okay, so if you're fit, and so right now, for example, I can have a little bit of plaque forming in my brain that in 20 years will develop into Alzheimer's. I might have cells in my body that are mutating now that in 3 years will become cancerous. I might have plaque forming in my arteries that in 15 years will cause a heart attack or a stroke. Okay, but the foundations for that are happening now. It might present in 10, 15, 20, 30 years, but the foundation is happening now. So if I act now in a way that's going to mitigate that risk, I prevent things happening down the line. Okay, so now is the time, not tomorrow. Do something tonight. Everyone can do something between now and bedtime that's going to have an impact upon mitigating those risks when you understand what they are. Okay, it's one of the things I preach everywhere I go. Every day we should be doing something evidentially that at the very least is going to mitigate the risk of cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. Okay, and that Kaya Kalpic is without exception the most powerful framework for delivering that, because all of the herbs that Kaya Kalpic advocates, have that. Have the evidence to show they are anti-cancer, they are anti-heart disease, they do have anti-Alzheimer mechanisms. Okay, so I was gonna talk about me this evening, and I was gonna talk about what my Kaya Kalpic framework looks like and how I came to that specific blend. But actually, I thought I wouldn't do that. Okay, I thought I'd do something different because I think maybe rather than looking at the disease prevention side, I wanted to show you the reactive side. Okay, so I want to talk about a real life case study, okay, of a lady who took part in and I've chosen her because it's such a clear journey. Okay, so this is a lady in her late 60s who took part in last year's Kaya Kalpic transformation plan. Okay, and during our live sessions and our discussions, one of her objectives was to overcome osteoarthritis, degenerative arthritis. Okay, the reason being that it was significantly reducing her quality of life. Okay, she couldn't be as active as she wanted to be. She couldn't walk the dog for more than kind of 15, 20 minutes without pain. She couldn't get out of the bath easily. Getting up the stairs was getting increasingly uncomfortable. It was a low level illness. It was a pathological illness. It was low level. It wasn't going to kill her, but it was going to significantly reduce her. It was significantly reducing her quality of life. And I want to show you how profoundly reactive and individualized you can make Kaya Kalpic. Okay, so what we did was say, okay, well, she was there. She took part in that course. Her motivation for being there was the same as you and me. To live longer, to live in better health, to experience the vitality of youthfulness once again, to feel energized, positive, enthusiastic, to feel young again. And all the things that Kaya Kalpic does gave her that. But she also needed to get on top of the arthritis. So when we spoke about individualizing her herbal alchemy, okay, her alchemical blend, her Kaya Kalpic herbal alchemy blend. Yes, she had to have the ashwagandha and the triphala and the turmeric and the amalaki because those mechanisms are foundational to Kaya Kalpic. If you remove those mechanisms, you remove Kaya Kalpic. You have to have those. But a lot of Kaya Kalpic herbal alchemy blends have, 5, 7, 10, even 12 herbs. Okay, because it provides more capacity to individualize. So for us, it was a case of saying, okay, well, if your lower level goal, your priority is to get on top of the arthritis, what does the evidence tell us? What Kaya Kalpic herbs are advocated? What's the evidence for using them? And straight away, as soon as she was outlining her case, it was obvious for me that the herbs jumped out straight away. Herbs, and you let me know if you've heard of these herbs. Boswellia. Okay, Indian frankincense. Frankincense, I'm sure you've definitely all heard of frankincense because of the Jesus birth story. Myrrh, definitely heard of myrrh. So 2 of those herbs are from the Magi in the the story of the birth of Christ. And ginger. Okay, why those three? Why those three herbs did they jump out at me, and why did she use them in her herbal alchemy blend? You know, I won't go through it in masses of detail, obviously, because it's going to take too long. But so boswellia, myrrh, and ginger, okay, are clinically proven painkillers, and they're clinically proven anti-inflammatories. Not just to a little bit, okay. If you look at the published clinical evidence, those herbs, particularly boswellia, frankincense, have been shown to work as effectively for pain, inflammation, and arthritis as both steroidal treatment, and non-steroidal steroidal treatments like Nurofen, ibuprofen. Okay, and the reason for that is something called the LOX and COX pathway. So when you're experiencing pain, when you're experiencing inflammation, when you're experiencing stiffness, the pain that I've got in my wrist now because of the broken bone is because of two pathways in the body, something called 5-lipooxygenase and cyclooxygenase. They are essentially the chemical pathways of pain. When you take Nurofen and pain gets better, it's because it's blocked those two pathways. If you block the pathways, the pain gets better, the inflammation gets better. That's why Nurofen works, it's why prednisolone works, it's why steroids work. What does boswellia do? What does myrrh do? What does ginger do? They are clinically proven to block the same mechanisms, almost at the same level of effectiveness. So what we did, we used the Becoming Young Again herbal alchemy blend to give her those benefits. But we added in myrrh, we added in frankincense, and we added in dried ginger, okay, in even ratios, into one alchemical blend. And then she started taking it, okay? And I'll talk about the outcome in a minute. But what else did we do? Kaya Kalpic is the opposite of a one-trick pony. It always uses a multifactorial approach, okay? So we also used a topical oil. So Kaya Kalpic uses loads of herbal oils, okay, and whether they're many herb or single herb. So we used a herb called maharanan oil, okay, which Fushi, if you're putting a Fushi order in, their maharanan oil is called muscle and joint oil. It's exactly the same ingredients. Ayurveda Pure in London call it by its original name, maharanan oil. Maharanan oil is the most famous anti-inflammatory, pain-killing, analgesic herbal oil within the Ayurvedic framework, okay? So we got her to massage that every morning into her knees, okay, and her hips, every evening before bed, particularly, okay? And we use a bit more detail. She put a hot flannel on her joints to open up the pores, dried it, and then massaged the warm oil in for a good 5 or 10 minutes every evening, okay? We then use two DIY remedies. Okay, we use something called yogi honey, which is straight out of the authentic playbook of Kaya Kalpic. Okay, yogi honey, Kaya Kalpic and Ayurveda have got a long history of making something called herbal honey. Herbal honey is where you get raw honey, non-heat treated honey, and you add in specific herbs into it, ground herbs, and you mix it together. Okay, and the reason that's so effective is honey is it absorbs, it's water soluble, so it's able to absorb the water soluble components found within these herbs. It's able to mobilize them and release them, so they become very bioavailable. And yogi honey is a really famous herbal blend from the Kaya Kalpic and Ayurvedic traditions. And it was used as a way to help keep yogis mobile, flexible, pain-free. And it includes a whole load of herbs that are clinically proven in that capacity. So honey in Kaya Kalpic is a tonic food. Okay, again, anti-inflammatory, immune modulating. So she had 2 teaspoons of that honey a day. And last but not least, the next remedy is herbal ghee. Okay, another just revered longevity tonic in Kaya Kalpic is ghee. Okay, the Western research supports this. We know ghee has anti-cancer impacts. We know it's a microbiome tonic food in terms of gut health. We know it has impacts upon brain health and Alzheimer's prevention. We know it has heart strengthening benefits, powerfully anti-inflammatory. So there's a beautiful recipe from the Kaya Kalpic course called the turmeric and black pepper ghee, herbal ghee, which is you just buy, pure shop bought ghee, scrape it all out of the pot, put it into a saucepan, you add in a certain amount of turmeric, a certain amount of black pepper, mix it all together, and then pour it back into the jar that you bought it in. And any time that she cooked, Janet, the lady, anytime she cooked or fried or marinated or anything like that, she would use the medicated ghee, okay? So every time she used something, every time she cooked, she was topping up the anti-inflammatory properties of the turmeric, the black pepper, and the ghee, plus the honey, plus the topical oil, plus the herbal alchemy blend, plus some dietary, when we look at the 6 tastes, again, in the 8-week course, we'll talk about all of the 6 tastes of Ayurveda and that Kaya Kalpa uses. One of that classification is called anabolic foods, sometimes called sweet foods. These are the very oleating, lubricating, it's like, think of it as the engine and the oil in an engine. So we're talking about things like coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, nut seeds. So she did dietary interventions too. And 4 weeks after the course officially ended, okay, so after the course ended, I got a lovely email from Janet, okay? And I wanted to, I'm not going to read it to you, but I just wrote down quickly before I came on. So 4 weeks after the course ended, and the email said that she could get out of bed normally again, okay? She can walk up the stairs pain-free. She can walk the dog for more than 20 minutes without pain for the first time in ages. And most importantly, her blood score, so something called CRP, C-reactive protein, which is your body's primary marker of inflammation, okay? Hers was reduced by 65%. So that's a blood-based, laboratory-proven evidence of the response. So that, and then suddenly, you get your life back again. You can do things, you can move, you can enjoy life, you can go and walk the dog, you can go, suddenly it's not just arthritis, this is what becoming young again is. The whole aim of Kaya Kalpa is not just living a long, healthy life, it's living a vibrant, happy, positive, enthusiastic, engaged, vivacious life where every day you're squeezing every little bit of life out of the day that you can. And you can't do that if you're in pain. And this is what Kaya Kalpa gives you. It's that ability to not accept mediocrity, to not accept the bar this low, that I'm now 75 and I have to accept that I've got aching joints and my blood pressure's raised and my muscle mass is dropping and my blood glucose regulation is bad. It's not acceptable, okay? If you were 105, maybe, okay, or 115, but not 75, not 85, not 55, not 65. Kaya Kalpa provides a framework for, yes, preventing illness, yes, living longer, yes, living younger, but also managing any concurrent problems, okay? And then, like I say, add in the familial risk factors, okay? One of the most powerful things you can do is to look at your familial risk factors and use Kaya Kalpa to mitigate them, okay? And that's, what more can we ask for? What more can we ask for other than a long, healthy life filled with comfort in terms of bodily comfort, in terms of vitality, in terms of engagement? So Lorraine, good question. You can have ghee if you've got elevated cholesterol, but no more than about 2 teaspoons a day. Actually, because at 1 to 2 teaspoons a day, ghee has been proven to lower bad cholesterol. So the bad cholesterol, LDL, the low density lipoprotein, the one that's linked to illness and disease, ghee has been shown to lower that. Okay, so that's it. So the big final takeaway from this 2 weeks is sit down somewhere quietly, as if you've got a Harry Potter magic wand, and wave it about. What do I need to resolve in my body to make my body feel, kind of perfect again within reason? Okay, what are the biggest risks to my lifespan in terms of family risk? How do I mitigate those? Okay, and then use Kaya Kalpa to provide a framework for addressing that. Okay, no, Rachel, bought ghee isn't preferable to homemade. It's just that I never have much luck with making ghee. I always seem to burn it. I never have enough butter, so I just buy it. We just buy it because Fushi have grass-fed ghee. And that's really important because if you're buying ghee, you've got to make sure that the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is perfect. Okay, and the only way you can do that is to use grass-fed milk, milk that comes from grass-fed cows. So I just find it easier to buy that ghee, scoop it out and melt it, and then put it back rather than make my own ghee. But that's one, because I'm not very good at cooking, and two, because I always never seem to have the time to do it in the way it needs to be done. Okay, so but you can make your own. You don't need to buy the ghee. It's way cheaper to make your own. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so like I say, in the 8-week course, we've obviously got loads more information around how you customize this in terms of heart health and the herbs you would include for heart disease and cancer, and particularly Alzheimer's, the most powerful anti-Alzheimer herbs in the world, not in Kaya Kalpic, not in Ayurveda, but globally in the Western research, is a herb called Brahmi, a Kaya Kalpic herb. So we're going to talk about all this in detail. I know there's lots of you who are saying you're thinking of joining, but like I said, the doors to the 8-week Kaya Kalpic transformation plan close in almost 24 hours, 10 p.m. tomorrow evening. Please don't miss the opportunity if you do genuinely want to kind of continue the journey. Okay, the week's not completely over yet because we've got a bit more content to share tomorrow. We've got the prize winners to announce, and I will obviously email you some bits and pieces as well. So have a lovely evening. Again, to have 65 people here live is an absolute privilege. So thank you so much, and have a lovely evening, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, guys.